This is a short video on how to use a mortar team. I've done a lot of fooling around with this. There's different ways to do this. I'm going to show you what I think is the most efficient and most flexible and by far the fastest and easiest way to use a mortar team. So, without further ado, what I have right now is I'm on the desert flats on Altus, I think it is, and I am the squad leader, or team leader rather, of a mortar team. So there's the team leader, and there are two men under me. One is the gunner, who carries the mortar tube.
Truck, 400 meters, bearing 015.
And the one on the right here, is the gunner, number 2. He's a corporal. He's a Mark 6 mortar gunner. He carries the mortar tube. The assistant gunner, Mark 6, carries the bipod for the mortar. So the mortar is carried in 2 pieces. Now, when I first started doing this, I assumed that the only way to operate this mortar was for me to man it, for the human to man it. I didn't think you could get the AI to man it, but you can. I'm about to show you how. So, without further ado, this is a fairly simple process, and with a little practice, you get very good at it. So, let's take a look at where we are. Downrange, exactly 400 meters, or 4 clicks away, are 2 enemy trucks. And I forgot to take the fuel out of the right truck, so I guess we'll start with that one, because otherwise it might try to drive away.
400 meters, due north.
Okay, so the first thing we need to do is set up our mortar. So I'm going to do that right now. I'm going to have F2 has the mortar tube. He's got it in his backpack. I'm going to have him set it up right in front of me here. So F2. I'm going to have him go there.
On the way. Standing
Okay.
by.
Now I'm going to give him instructions. Now, to give him instructions like how to drop his backpack and set up the mortar tube, you cannot do that with the context-sensitive menu. So here's the context-sensitive menu, and it won't work. He can hold fire, get back, yada yada, but that's all very basic instructions. So you need the more advanced menu to do this. So we're going to get out of that menu with a right click of the mouse button. And now I'm going to hit backspace, which brings up the main squad leader menu on the upper left. I'm going to hit 6 for action. Alright, we're going to give him actions. Well, that didn't work so well. You know what? I forgot to select a soldier. So backspace, F2, because the gunner is number 2 soldier. See how everything, all these choices lit up on that menu? Now I'm going to go to action number 6. I prefer to just hit the 6 key. With a little practice, you get very fast at this. So backspace, F2, 6, and 1. So here we go, 6. And then 1 is to drop the folded Mark 6 mortar tube on the ground.
2. Drop your pack.
Waiting.
Okay, that's done. Now, the second part is even easier. Now I need number 3. I need Snow, the assistant mortar operator, assistant gunner, and I'm going to hit backspace, F3, 6 for action, and you'll notice up at the top the first choice is to assemble the Mark 6 mortar. So I'm going to select that, number 1. I'll just press number 1.
3.
Easier.
Assemble that weapon.
Roger.
So 3 is going to...
By.
Alright, so 3 is put the mortar in place. Now I can have either one of these guys man the mortar, but I'm just going to have F2 do it now. This is important. The Arma 3 views anything like a mortar, any turret, and a mortar is one of the turrets. It treats them all as vehicles. So you have to get used to that idea of getting in and getting out, of just like he was getting in and out of a truck or a tank or any vehicle. So now I'm going to hit F2 on the context sensitive menu, and my first choice, you see that down arrow there is the same down arrow you would have if you were trying to get him to get into an APC. And now it wants him to get in the M6 mortar, and I'm going to hit the mouse wheel.
Gunner, get in that vehicle.
Solid copy. Ready.
Okay, bingo, the hard part's done. Now all we need to do is tell him what we want to blow up. So let me go to my binocular view. There's a couple ways to do this. We're going to start with a direct view. I could use my rifle scope. I could use a binocular. I just need some way to point at my target. So I'm going to do that now. Oh, whoops. Go back to binocular. Then right-click the mouse button. There's my binocular. So I want the truck on the right because it has fuel, and I'm afraid it'll run away once the explosions start. So that's it. That's my target. Notice I got the crosshair right on the truck. It's this easy. So I'm now going to go F2. And now look at the menu in the upper left. There are two choices for me. One up at the top says fire artillery. The one at the bottom says fire at position. The difference is if I use the one at the bottom, fire at position, that's very quick, it's very fast, and he'll fire off about 4 rounds. If I only want to fire 1 or 2 rounds, I don't want to use that because it doesn't give me the choice. Oh, by the way, fire at position is also, it defaults to HE, and he'll fire like 4 rounds. But I'm going to use fire artillery at the top of the menu because that has sub-menus. So fire artillery. Notice I can choose HE, a white flare or a white smoke. I'm going to choose HE. And we're just going to fire 1 round. So here we go. Let's hope we hit him.
Requesting support. 2, grid 2, 3, 4.
There it goes.
1, 8, 7.
So he's already fired the round. And let's see how we do here. I'd call that pretty much a direct hit.
Soldier, 400 meters north.
Target neutralized.
I wonder if that soldier's going to hang out down there. If he is, I'll blow him up. Let's try F2. Now we'll try fire at position.
2, fire. Grid 2, 3, 3. 1, 8, 7.
So here goes 4 rounds. Oh, there goes that. See how easy that is? I mean, it beats the heck out of manning the mortar yourself. You know, if you're a squad leader, you don't have time for that. You don't want to be involved in that. You want to be leading your squad. So if you can assign your soldier to do it, so much the better. Now we're going to try the other target, but we're going to do this one a little differently. We're going to go to, I should have left that. It doesn't really make any difference, but I'm going to go to map mode now. And instead of doing, pointing directly at my target, I'm going to zoom in the map mode. There he is. Okay, I'm going to put my cursor right over him. And then I'm going to go F2, fire artillery, HE,
Requesting
single.
Support. 2, grid 2, 3, 3. 1, 8, 7.
And he's already fired. And you can see the truck trying to drive away, but it has no fuel, so I'm afraid it's pretty much out of luck. All right, bingo. That concludes this lesson. See how easy that is? Before we get back to that, all right, let's say we're done. We're done now. We're ready to move on. So before I go, I'll show you how to undo what we just did. All right, so now we're done. I want to pack up the mortar. So first thing I'm going to do is backspace F2, 4, and your first choice is to disembark. In other words, we're telling him to get out of a vehicle. And so I'm going to select disembark. So there he goes. He's out of the mortar now. Okay, now I can go backspace F2, 6 for action, disassemble Mark 6 mortar.
2. Break down that weapon.
Roger that. Ready.
Okay, so he has broken it down and it's now back into 2 packs. Okay, I know this seems awkward, but it just takes a little practice. So now backspace, F2, 6 for action, and I'm going to tell him to take the mortar tube, which is what he normally
Roger
has.
that. Waiting.
Okay, now I just need to go backspace, F3, that's my other guy, my assistant, 6 and 1 to take
Wilco.
the bipod.
Standing by.
And we are ready to go. We're ready to hit the road. So that ends this lesson. So the main thing to pick up here is, it takes some practice, but actually I know I was screwing up my keys a little bit, but with a little practice, these guys, you can have this mortar set up in less than 60 seconds easy and ready to fire, and not much longer than that to pack it back up again. So it's a great tool. Now, here's another point. I started out with this as a team leader with a mortar group, and I said, well, you know what? You could attach these 2 guys to any squad, and I have done that. So get rid of the team leader and attach the gunner and the Mark 6 gunner and the Mark 6 assistant with their backpacks, and you can select them individually on the infantry units and add them to your team. And they're a great asset because now you have portable artillery with you wherever you go, and you can have them set that mortar up. I wouldn't get them too close to the action, so have them set that mortar up, a little ways back, and then you take your squad up to the action, and you have your own artillery support. Okay, that concludes my presentation. Have a great day.